And everybody knows I just like to say, Harry Potter. So please put those phones on, and I had to check mine, because God knows I don't want to go down there, to vibrate, silent, or stun. And just so you know, Althea's Sunday gatherings are live streamed at Facebook, and recordings are available on YouTube at our channel. Let's talk about what's coming up. We are in the middle of a transition period. So for those of you who are new, haven't been here, we are investigating where Althea, the next iteration, wants to go. Our beloved Jonathan Ellerby, almost forgot his last name. Don't tell him. Do not tell him that. And that's right. It's on video. So we know where he is. He's not lost. He's in California. But he's no longer here, our beloved spiritual director. And so this has really engendered an incredible time to decide where it is that the community wants to go. We have a marvelous person who is guiding the procedure. Her name is Alma Getty, and she is the daughter of quite a wonderful member who is no longer on this planet. She's zooming somewhere, Pam Getty. And she is a life coach. She's also training to get certified, and she works with corporations. And so she is just perfect for directing this guiding process. And so that's coming up at our annual, if not at our annual general meeting, an overview of everything that she and the board have been doing will be coming up. So that's one of the things to look for in the future. We have also, if you got a postcard, there was something on there about starting a visioning today. That is going to be, again, one of those things for the future, as we just sort of let this unfold naturally. And what that means is we want to invite the community to a group that will use spiritual visioning principles to help us guide also in gathering all of the earthly data with Alma's participation and yours as well. There will be a survey coming out, so just look for that in the newsletter when that gets a little more concrete. All right, what else? Kathy Humphreys does her group every week from 11 to 12:30. What's the title of it? Community Outreach? Connections, Community Connections, sorry. And Kathleen Humphreys, I've heard such good things about it. It's where you can come to sort of stay connected to the community. You can participate in the topic that she chooses. She puts a lot of effort into this. She has decades of experience. She's got a master's, I believe, in psychology or social work. I don't have my notes, that note right here, but she is definitely well qualified. I've heard good things, so check that out. Mariposa will have its group this May 5th, correct? May 5th. And that's going to be run by Tim, who's over here if you have any questions. Mariposa is our LGBT group and LGBTQ group, and the topic is LGBTQ representation. And if there's only question being, is there representation if only white faces and white voices are seen and heard? There will be two guests, Mimi Madrid, who I am familiar with her. She's a reporter with the Denver Post. And Joe Bunton-Keel, what's her background, do you know? Okay. Cool. Okay. So it sounds like a very, enlivened potential group there for Wednesday night. So check that out. That's at 6:30. Please register for it. That's going to be Zoom. Okay. 9 Ways to Love, the Enneagram and Your Relationships with Julia Foster. That begins Tuesdays, May 11th. That too will be a Zoom class. Please register for that. The Althea Community Outreach Program, this is our volunteer program, and we would love to have you participate in taking care of this beautiful facility and all the people that come here as well. So our volunteers provide our community with visits, connections, referrals, resources, transportation, errands. If you've got some time during the week that you could take someone to the grocery store or a doctor's visit, or visit, see Sarma, and she's in the back here with her hand in the air. So, if you feel called to be of service, please see Sarma and give her your information. Don't forget, you can contribute via Amazon. If you can put Althea to receive, I believe it's 1% of your purchases at smile.amazon. You must register first and then use smile.amazon for the purchases, for that to go into place. I found that out the hard place. I spent $1,000 and I thought, oh, this is going to be a great donation. Nope. King Soopers also has a community contribution there. And I got a notification a couple weeks ago. I think I was able to contribute $97, and that's a quarter. So lots of different ways to contribute here. Any other announcements? I don't think so. All right. Okay, so next on our list, let's do an opening prayer, and I will then move into Althea's statement of being. So if you want to just get comfortable, close your eyes. And I don't know about you, but take a few deep breaths. And we just let that breath out. And we just feel the relaxation course through every single cell of our being and body. And we know that as we relax into the presence, we are acknowledging that oneness that is present right here and right now. The presence of Spirit, of the Great Spirit, of mind, of God, of Buddha, Allah, Shiva, Yahweh, whatever name you choose, or no name, but it is that energy that illumines each and every one of us here and each and every one of us in the entire world. And in fact, this omnipresence is universal. Everywhere there is this energy of power, of light and life and love. And we simply stop and take notice right now. And as we do so, we are connected to each other. Not only in this space, this glorious, glorious sanctuary manifested by women who were divinely guided 100 years ago and more to bring that oneness to this spot right here and right now. And when we come to this place of unification, we know in our heart of hearts that indeed there is no separation. There is nothing to separate us from Spirit, from each other. And maybe as we think of the world that we came from today, the stresses, the strife, the inequities, the injustice, the anger, the frustration, the poverty. We know that there is a greater power and we are connected to it, for we are the solution. And we are one with them, and they are one with us. And we simply let go any of the stresses of the week, of the day, of just getting here today, and we bask in the beauty and the peace that is Althea. For I know each of us in our hearts are grateful in our own way to showing up here today, to saying, yes, we love this community. We want to be there with each other because that is what community is about. To bask in the energy, to soak it up and take it with us. And so with a heart filled with gratitude, I'm so thankful for each and every one here for this beautiful day, in this beautiful city, in this beautiful state, in this beautiful country, in this beautiful world. And we just let it all go. We just let it go. We just breathe out. And we know that right here and right now, there is peace and light and love. And we are that peace and light and love. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. One of the traditions here at Althea is reading Althea's statement of being, and this is a prayer that has its history in the founders of Althea, the three women who I believe came from Chicago and then to Pueblo and then to Denver. Nona Brooks, Althea Brooks, and was it Frances was the third one? Franny. And they, along with a woman in San Francisco, what was her name? Melinda Kramer. See, I have my historical experts here in the audience here. Thank God. And they devised the first divine science church. And that is really what this place is. It's now the Althea Center for Spiritual Engagement. And these four dynamic, powerful women manifested this. And we are so grateful to them. And we honor them with Althea's statement of being. And you can just follow along with me. There are many members here who know it by heart. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Such a nice tradition and such a lovely way to honor these beautiful women. Our community is also known for its dynamic music program. And we have today quite a wonderful man here, Gonzalo, who has been here many, many times. Come on up. Gonzalo is our featured musician today. He's such a beloved friend here of the community. You heard him playing that beautiful interlude as you came in and got seated. He's a two-time Latin Grammy nominee and blends his Venezuelan roots with an improvisational style that will surprise and delight you. Thank you, Gonzalo. So we are celebrating Cinco de Mayo a little bit early today, and our guest speaker is Lachlan Quintana. And with a name like that, he's going to explain to us, how did he put it, figuring out which box to check on the form, what ethnic group are you? So he's going to explore his ethnic and spiritual roots, and in his talk entitled Mexico, Megachurches, and Meditation. So please welcome Lachlan Quintana.
Alrighty, everyone. I'm not playing Angry Birds or doing anything of that kind. I'm just taking my notes here so I can reference and do all that. But yes, my name is Lachlan, and I am a content and video producer doing things like design, photos, videos around the world, things like Cambodia, Thailand, India, Paraguay, etc. So that is what I do professionally on an everyday basis. Other than that, I am clearly standing up here doing this now. So this is my new thing that I'm trying out today. I took this in college, and this is just going to be fun, so I'm going to do a lot of heavy breathing. It's going to be a bunch of different processes for how I do my speaking. But that is me, and I want to tell you a little bit about my childhood and kind of where I got started with my spiritual journey, as well as my Mexican roots that I have as well. So my grandparents were the ones that really took care of me. My parents were both working, and they more often than not just went and put me at my grandparents. Were like, oh, you're going to have fun, go do things like that. So what my grandma would always do, she would make me tacos probably once a week. She would make me just a bunch of different Mexican dishes. Lord, she is the best. She was going to be here today, but unfortunately she had to go get her dog's stitches removed, so she had to deal with that. So she's not here today. But yeah, through the years, she raised me on that type of food. My grandpa made me chicharrones all the time. Lord, they are amazing. I recommend chicharrones all the time. So that was probably some of the closest things I've gotten to doing Spanish traditions, where like my tacos, my chicharrones, and they kind of raised me on those types of foods. More often than not, they would actually go around the house, the small little house that they had, and talk about things that they needed to do, like little tiny things Spanish-wise. They'd kind of be like, again, I'm really bad at my Spanish, which is horrible. So I'm like the worst Mexican you guys can see up here. But yeah, so they'd say like little things to each other in Spanish, and I'd always ask like, hey, what does this mean? And more often than not, they're like, oh, just asking how he was, or if he could go do something for her, things like that. And I was like, okay, cool. That's not that big a deal. I said I would learn, went and taught, probably took like 4 years of Spanish in school, and still got nothing. Great. But yeah, what my grandpa would always do when we would eat those chicharrones and tacos together is he would give his full, very Catholic prayer. He would give his full Catholic prayer and, on like, and God bless this meal in front of us, everything like that. And, it's something I do miss, and I have that recording saved for me. He is no longer with us. We lost him in January to cancer, so, alas, that is why he is not here. But he is here in presence, I will admit. So that is wonderful. But he would end everything in that beautiful prayer, and I think as a kid, I was always just kind of like half eye open, just kind of looking at him, be like, yes, can I eat this food in front of me? I really want to just get to this. And, I would still listen, and it would always impact me very emotionally, especially when he would do it at like Thanksgiving and Christmas and every other, holiday type of event, such as like Cinco de Mayo, every other Spanish type of holiday we would come to. Unfortunately enough, I don't know if I would say unfortunately, but they would be like, not really too into the Hispanic Mexican culture, if you will. And so they would make me all these foods and everything. They would show all the things that they could do for the Mexico type of kind of implementation to my life, if you will. But tacos were kind of the only thing. So I didn't really get too much of, the Mexican-style Cinco de Mayo events. Like we weren't partying and doing like sombreros and all that and doing all the fun dancing and all that stuff as well. But they did give me that spiritual goodness that the Catholicism, if you will, kind of taught me, if you will. They brought that on and showed me that. So, being raised in that kind of setting, I was also brought to a Christian school as a kid. And, that was a process in itself. I left that at like 5th grade or so. And one thing I remember about Christian school specifically is that they would always take my Pokemon cards because they said it was a bad thing against God. It was very, very intriguing. And I was like, I just want my Pikachu to, go get another Pikachu. It's great. They're going to hang out together. It's going to be fantastic. So that was my Christian school experience. Not great, but also not horrible at the same time. But yes, when I was taking standardized tests at this school, they had initially asked me, in those tests, you fill out your name and everything like that, and you go through, like, oh yeah, this is me, this is, my last name, first name, all this goodness. And I finally get to the box of like, what race and culture are you? And it's like, well, I'm not black, well, I'm not Hawaiian, I'm not, any of the other types of boxes, and I got to the Hispanic and white, and I was like, I actually didn't know the answer to that question. So I actually went home that day after having taken that standardized test, and I asked my mom, and she told me, she said that I was qualified as white. And to be perfectly honest, I look at it back at it now, and I'm over here really questioning, like, am I? Am I really? My last name is Quintana. A lot of people say Quintana, everything like that, but with my questioning of my identity at that point in time, I just accepted what my mom said. I was going to fill it out as white because I was like, oh, well, she said white, so I guess that's what I am. So I filled it out, and that's kind of how I was living my life up to probably just beyond college, just after I kind of got out of stuff, doing that and everything like that. But once I got to that point, I really started to question. I was like, hey, am I white? Am I Mexican? The funniest thing about my last name, actually, is that my dad is Spanish, and my mom is where the Mexican comes from. So it's hilarious. Everyone gets so confused. But, yeah, so she had told me that I was white, and now I'm at this point where I really just want to embrace that Mexican culture and everything else. So that's kind of the hardest thing about being able to identify as that person and become that person. So I'm currently in that process, so that is a very fun thing. But yeah, so let me bring up too how, at least a little bit, how my religious experience has thus impacted me since then. I had gone to church as a kid, pretty inconsistently. We'd show up every other weekend or something like that, and I would always want to go because they would give out free bagels, and bagels were just amazing. So never a bad thing to take. But that was the only reason I wanted to go as a kid. I'd always hear those stories of like, how Jesus did this, and the Pharisees were bad, all that type of thing, and that's kind of like how I was raised, learning all of that. But then I had gone to church probably after high school. I think that's about my time frame that I'm thinking about. So started going to church again and started to get pretty involved. I started, going every week and being like, yeah, this is fun, getting involved in the prayers, doing all the activities that they would want to do, everything like that. Went to a few different churches, and then I finally ended at a big megachurch. And I got to this megachurch, and it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun. There were big lights, everything like that. Everyone was very joyful, very welcoming, and that was great. So then I'm probably going there for probably about a year or so, and then we end up getting a young group, just like a young group of people. I don't know. I think it was like a small group, I think it was what we called it. But we got that group of people together, and then we finally started to get intimate about how we're sharing our spiritual experiences. So we're talking about how God has impacted your life, how prayer is good for you, everything like that. And we're sitting in a big old circle, and we're all talking about how prayer has changed you. And then they finally get to me, and we actually talk about how I like to be very personable with my conversations with God, and unfortunately, they did not seem to like that. I told them, and I was like, hey, my relationship with God is a very personable, me and him type of situation. I don't want to speak my truth to the world, per se. I'm up here standing doing that right now, but alas, I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to just be kind of with myself, That's some of those conversations that I've had with God, and that at that time, were very personable, and they were things that were impacting me directly, and not the overall spiritual church community, if you will. So when I presented that to the group, they told me that wasn't okay. They said that was not really allowed because I needed to be sharing with this group. So I meditated on it, I sat on it, and really thought about why that was the case. And I ended up meditating on it so much that I was like, cool, well, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. Can't do this anymore. So, the hardest part about that story, I'd say, is that I had those friends in that small group, in that church, and because I said no to one specification of theirs, I no longer had those friends. I, walked out of the group, and I lost those friends. And that was very, honestly, I'm still probably still processing a little bit, but I lost those friends, and, that was a big group of people that I had. I went from having a bunch of friends to 0. So, that was a fun process. So I decided to take myself back and go ahead and go to, actually, that wasn't even go to anywhere. It was just like sit down and learn what meditation is. Because I had been kind of dabbling in it. I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. My mom said it would be a good idea to, just relax and calm down. I'm a pretty high-strung guy, and, I'd like to get up there and excited about stuff and overexcited about things that are stressing me out and everything like that. So she had pushed it every so often. I was like, give it a try. And I tried it, and, it was very, very frustrating initially starting meditation. But, I was like, hey, I don't have a church group to go anymore, so let's try this meditation out and see if it actually works. To be honest, I'll tell you right now, the first probably 6 months of meditation was a shit show. It was because I had no idea what I was looking for. I sat down and started to just process thoughts. I was thinking very intimately about things that had been beneficial to my life and things that have also been very like a big detractor from my life, things that were impacting me negatively. So I wanted to process some of those things, and that was really some of the hard things to get through. I had to process like some breakups through high school, and then ones that were shortly after high school, everything like that. So that was a whole thing, still going through that. But with that, meditation was not an easy thing because it was very emotionally tolling. I was not quite able to understand what these emotions were I was bringing up within myself. Some of it, I was flat out angry about some of my meditations. I would sit on the ground and, sit, and sometimes I'd walk away crying. I think I, came to my fiance and told her, I was like, hey, this meditation was crap, and I think I started crying just because, I said it was crap, but those are the best types of meditations I think I've ever had because they brought up the problems that I was actually just repressing and holding under, and I was able to bring them out and present them to the world and say, like, hey, this is the problem. I'm going to solve this problem instead of just actually just holding it in, feeling it in my heart and just keeping it there and being like, nah, you're not going anywhere. So that's kind of how I got into meditation, was really just to try to explore what it was going to be since I didn't have my church group. So it wasn't a bunch of the alms and, sitting and just chilling and, being all zen and all that goodness. It was not that. It was a lot more of really understanding and being honest with myself. So I had to really say, like, cool, what is hurting you? What is bringing you joy? And really, when I would say I started to master meditation well past that probably 6 month mark, and started to say, like, hey, this is going really great. I was driving down the road one day, and this guy cut me off, and I was really pissed about it. I don't think anyone's going to be happy when somebody cuts you off, because they were checking their phone, something like that, anything along those lines. And since they had cut me off, I was pissed. I was mad, so mad. I went home and meditated on the fact that made me mad, and the fact that impacted me so heavily frustrated me. So I meditated on how that was impacting my life, and I said, this was bringing me no positivity and joy. It was actually just hurting me more than anything. And I sat on that for probably an hour, and I went back and forth. That's the thing about meditation, is you're going back and forth with yourself, and you shouldn't feel bad about that. When you first start out meditating, and I still do this to this day, more often than not, and you should be going back and forth fighting yourself. You should not just be like, oh, yep, let's just accept the angry feelings and just it happens and that stuff. No, you need to bring them up, understand why it's happening, and address how it's going to impact you. I need my other notes. But yeah, so that's kind of been kind of my meditation process and understanding kind of how it's impacting you before you sit down to meditate, and then how it's impacting you after you've sat down and meditated. So, another thing, like what I've been trying to do as of lately, and like before Jenny had got me a hold of doing this speech and getting up here and standing in front of you guys and telling you what is going to happen with meditation and everything like that, I really was starting to meditate on the fact that I had filled in that bubble as a kid and said it was white. I really thought about it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that at all. And just in this last probably year, I have then thus begun identifying as the Hispanic that I truly am, accepting what my grandparents had brought me up on with the tacos and the chicharrones and, the Catholicism. Sure, it's not Catholic now, but alas, that's what they had raised me on, and I'm trying to really fully understand the collective culture of kind of how I was raised, and understand what I can do to become a better Hispanic in the community collectively. So that's actually been a really hard thing, and I'm still in process of meditating on what that's going to be. Am I going to come up and do a bunch of speeches around the world and be like, hello, I'm the greatest speaker ever. I'm going to tell you all about the stuff that I've gone through spiritually and emotionally, and give just, you guys a knife and just have my heart here and just let you stab stab at it, guys. So that's a big thing. Is that going to be the way I'm going to impact my culture and my there's a word for it, not culture, collective people, the people, yes, I think it's along those lines. But I want to be the best Hispanic I can be. I want to showcase the fact that we have some weird traditions, we have some fun things, we are just happy people. I went to Paraguay actually, and they were just all so kind. They gave me so many things, and I didn't even ask for them. We built a house out there, and that was the fun part about that. But sopapillas were amazing. The prayers we would do before we started building for the day, everything like that, that was wonderful. But yeah, that was one thing that really impacted me and showed me that I said, I want to be the best Hispanic I can be. And, I am still in process of that, but I think it's important to understand that all of you can also learn to meditate. And, again, meditation is going to be a very hard thing to get into for a lot of you. I know you don't have to sit down and, do the classic goodness, but you can just sit there, be present with yourself, and then that is the start of your meditation. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can totally keep them open. I mean, I would prefer you be in a less than complicated situation. So probably don't watch TV and meditate. It's not going to go well. You could try it and just let me know how that goes. But, I think really the greatest thing, and one thing I'm going to probably leave you guys with here, is just try meditation. Sit in a calm, relaxed room, sit there and just be present with your own thoughts. Understand where your head is. If it's in a good place, wow, great for you. Better than me half the time. But if you're not, then understand that you're going to struggle with those meditations. It's not an easy thing to be present with yourself and comfortable with yourself alone. You are going to really start to understand yourself. It's going to almost be like a pullback. It's going to be like, no, you don't want to do this, but it's the best part. That's the struggle you need to get through to really find yourself more internally. Once you have done that, I think it's going to be the greatest experience of your life. So once I had mastered, quote unquote mastered, my meditation process, I walked away from my meditations very happy and very joyful, and almost like in a blissful way, in the ignorance is bliss sense of, wow, life is beautiful and everything is beautiful and blah, blah, blah. This is great. People are great. I love being here in front of all these people. This is amazingly beautiful. and all of things like that, just the little things. Like my morning coffee that I would have before I go sit outside on my patio, in my little meditation rug, and sit there drinking my coffee and understanding what meditation is doing for me. It's not an easy process, but again, I think if you guys give it a go and, try to understand what it's going to do for you, I think it'll be even better. So, yeah, if I was going to leave you guys with anything, I would say definitely ensure that you are able to understand where your culture comes from as well. I think if you don't understand where your culture comes from, you should try. I think you should absolutely try to encourage your roots to come out to present yourself as yourself, instead of just be like, oh, yep, I am white. Like I checked that bubble initially. Now I identify fully as Hispanic, and that is what I am as a human. And yeah. So, guys, that's kind of all I got on everything about meditation and kind of my culture and processes for what meditation is. This is my first speech in a while, but hopefully it was great. I know. I can be back. I'm here till Thursday. So, thank you guys again. If you have any questions, I'll be here after. So, yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lachlan. I know when I meditate, what I find so funny is, I can, do the whole routine and the fingertips, and then I get in the car and I affirm I'm going to get there safe and sound, and then some guy cuts me off, and that son of a... just out the window. And then I'm all, peace, bless you. Life is funny. Now is the time when we would usually pass the plate for offerings, but we are not doing that. We are avoiding contact. But it's still time to open up the hearts and open up the purses. And just as a reminder, we do have a basket in the back. We have the ability to use credit cards. Of course, cash always works. Checks. And we have a wonderful new device called the dip jar. Right? Dip jar? And all you do is dip your credit card, and like that, nothing to sign. It's really wonderful. And my account number is, no, just kidding. We have one reading here, so thank you so much, first of all, for anything that you can offer us. It does, take shekels and francs and dollars, etc., to keep the lights on. We have a wonderful staff of volunteers, so thank you to all of them. We also have a wonderful staff. Thank you to all of them to keep this place going. And now it's time for a reading. So we have our long-time member here, Barbara Boucher, who's going to give us a reading. And she also works with the Women's Homeless Initiative.
Good morning. I'm going to read something I read recently by Richard Rohr. I know many of you are familiar with him. I believe my first real spiritual experience happened when I was about 5 in my home in Kansas. I had the sense that the world was good. I was good. And I was part of a good world. And I just wanted to stay there. It was like being taken to another world, the real world, the world as it is meant to be, where the foundation is love and God is everything. I remember feeling very special, very chosen, very beloved, and it was my secret. The rest of my family didn't know what I was thinking. See how my ego was already getting involved? Like the Apostle Paul, I now believe the closeness is to let everybody else know that they are chosen too. My hope for our near future lies in those who are waking up to the divine DNA. That was there from the very beginning, especially during the painful experiences of life. We must all move through the universal pattern of order, disorder, and reorder. And we must do it again and again and again. By choosing a life of simplicity, service, generosity, and even powerlessness, we can move forward trusting both love and mystery. We don't need to be perfectly certain before taking the next step. Our job is to be who we say we are and who God says we are, carriers of the divine image. And as St. Catherine of Genoa said, "My deepest me is God." I can only imagine how differently our lives, families, and our nation would look. When you can see the divine in all things, including yourself, you will see and live differently.
We'll have Ginny give us some updates about upcoming services and any other announcements. Then I'll do a closing prayer, and we will have Gonzalo one more time.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here this is like the last little part of the day where it's not going to be raining and thunder and lightning. So thanks for giving us that time. I'm on the team that is making Sundays awesome with new, fresh voices like Lachlan. Woo-hoo! And steady Eddie, beautiful musical voices like Gonzalo. Yay! Mother's Day is next weekend. So I hope you will all be here before you take your mother to lunch or brunch or whatever you want to do. We are going to celebrate the divine feminine and the divine mother. And we're going to do this with an amazing panel that is going to go across the spectrum of experience around divine feminine and divine mother. And check out the newsletter, check out the website to hear more. It's going to be fantastic. And we also have coming up in May, Good Vibrations, which is going to be about healing sounds. Those of you who know Greg Gongbath, that's what I call him, Greg Gongbath Wilkins, he's actually going to give our presentation, and he's going to tell us the science behind those vibrations. He's going to do demonstrations. He's going to bring a friend who's also a fellow musician and vibration guru. So they're going to give us some of their gong bath experience right here, talk about it, but then also we're going to do another gong bath after the service for people in the community and people who come on Sunday to do a gong bath. So we're going to do that again. It's going to be fascinating. Other things that are coming up. How many of you remember Doug Fisichella? Woohoo! Doug, long time Althea friend. He is going to talk to us about the soul of music. He is a musician. He's going to bring a bunch of musicians up here, and he's going to talk about the connection there. And then we're going to have an amazing musical event. Then, folks, we're getting into June. We're getting into Father's Day, and we're going to have amazing things. We're going to get into Pride Fest and have amazing things. So lots of local musical talent, some that you have seen for years who are dear friends, and some who are brand new faces for you, and new speakers. And we're just going to keep moving on with lots of energy. I will reiterate what Rick is telling us. Please don't forget to donate and to support us financially, because we still have all the costs of this building, and we want to see Althea get stronger and bigger as we open up more. So don't forget us. And that dip jar, it works several times, by the way. It will not cut you off, okay? What I'm saying? All right, so don't stop. And then we will have coffee as we do until we can open up that dining room like the old days and have brunch and lunch together. We are serving coffee, so please stick around and talk to your friends and have a cup of coffee with us. With that, I will turn it back over to Rick. Thank you, Sarah. Be safe.
And am I incorrect, but I think we don't have to wear masks outside unless you are uncomfortable. I think that's correct. So please, yes, engage with coffee or tea. You can take it outside and enjoy the beautiful Colorado day. Another Sunday service is coming to a close. We also have a feature here called Prayer Partners, for those of you who might be in need of an affirmative prayer if something's going on in your life. And that doesn't have to be bad. It could be maybe you're up for a new career switch, or you have a job, or family relations, good things, bad things. If you need an affirmative prayer, our prayer partners, Dick and Lee today, and they will be meeting you for a one-on-one out in the library by the prayer room there. So please, please, please take advantage of that. That, after all, is the foundation of this community. Thank you to everyone on the staff, as I said before, all of our volunteers, all of you, and let's close out with a closing prayer. Oh, I wanted let's see. Oh, yeah. I looked up Cinco de Mayo, and because I really did not know what that even stood for or represented. It celebrates the Mexican victory over superior French forces on May 5th of 1862 in the Battle of Puebla. Although the Mexican forces were outnumbered and not as well armed, they were able to defeat the French army, which at the time was considered one of the best in the world. It was a moral victory for the Mexicans and gave them hope and determination and encouragement and unified the people. And this little blurb that I found even mentioned that in the context of history, if Mexico had become a part of the French Empire, the outcome of the Civil War might have been very different, as the French may have come to the aid of the South. So we have an intrinsic reason to be very grateful and thankful on May 5th. All right. Closing prayer. So as we once again just come to that place of quiet and solitude and joy, Harry Potter, and we just revel in the environment that we find ourselves in. There is joy, there is laughter. We've had a wonderful message from Lachlan. We've had beautiful music from Gonzalo. And it's just such a joy to be in each other's company and to know that life is filled with these moments of joy and happiness and camaraderie and community. And so I'm so thankful and grateful to each and every one of you here. And so it is. Amen, amen, amen. And now Gonzalo will play us out.